In this training video, we will be covering how to install a TPO Rhinobond system.
Today we're going to review installation practices pertaining to the TPO Rhinoplate system. What we have installed here on the deck is a fastening pattern which consists of 8 fasteners per board. It's important to note that fastening patterns will change from project to project. You will also notice that the top layer of our insulation is not staggered. If our base layers of insulation are staggered, we do not need to stagger the top layer of insulation. This allows for easy installation and layout of our Rhinobond plates to keep in straight lines, which will allow easier welding of the plates. It's also important to know that these fasteners are penetrating the top rib of the metal deck, penetrating the deck a minimum of 3/4 of an inch. With our test strip laid out, we have our plates identified onto the sheet. Now we're going to weld the plates at the various energy settings labeled onto the sheet. It's important to note that when we weld all of our plates, we take our magnet and we thoroughly wipe the bottom of the magnet with a rag each and every time we weld a plate, as these magnets will accumulate little pieces of metal and debris which will cause damage to our welds. Also, after we install the magnets, we want to drop the magnet straight down without twisting the magnet and keep the magnet on the weld for a minimum of 1 minute. So we've completed our test welds onto our test strip. We've allowed the welds to cool for about 15 minutes, and then we remove the plates with a pair of pliers from the back of the sheet. The first energy setting that we welded at was -6, and you can clearly see by looking at the plate that we're missing a lot of the membrane which did not bond to the plate. This is welded way too cold. The next energy setting we jumped to -3, and we can see that our weld is getting better, but we still don't have full delamination, therefore we needed more heat. A 0 energy setting was able to show full delamination onto the plate where the membrane bonded, and this will be the energy setting we're going to use to weld all of our plates. It's also important to know that on this test strip, we want to indicate the date and time of the welds performed so that we have this for future reference. Once we've determined our appropriate energy setting to weld all of our plates at, the next thing that we want to do is position our TPO rolls in a way that water will flow over the top of our seams and not into our seams. And also, before we kick the roll out, we want to ensure that there's no debris sitting on top of the insulation, which will sit directly below the sheet. Now we're ready to start kicking our sheets out. Once our sheets have been put into position, the next thing we need to do is identify where the plates are in order to weld them. What I did here is I simply rub my foot over the top of the sheet and it identifies where the plates are. There are other means and methods that we can do to identify the plates, but this is oftentimes the simplest.